Hello, hello. How you doing, everyone? Good to see you all here today. Let's go. Hey, James, good to see you, buddy. Thank you for being here. Slew Dog, Lamuel. Yes, hello, folks. Yes, hello, everybody. How we doing? How we doing today? I'm here with GMC. Love your live videos, James. Quality. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Dave. Unlike my non-live videos, which are terrible. No, I'm teasing. Perfect background video while doing my laundry. Are you saying I am second screen entertainment? That is very true. That is very true. Hello, Red Report. Congrats again, bud. Danny, PJ, Anthony, Daniel, Stewart, Urunbura. Isn't this a drink? Am I being racist here or something? But isn't Urunbura a something? Isn't it a drink or something? Am I am I making fun of your name accidentally? I apologize if so. IR Mickles Simon. Good to see you all. Thank you to everybody who is a member as well. Cheers, James. You are my favorite background noise. Aaron, yeah, it's a Scottish drink. Aaron Brew, right? Something like that. Yeah. Thank you. I knew I wasn't like making it up in completely wrong here. Iron Brew. There you go. Iron Brew. Okay. Now I've heard of the drink before. Okay. All right. It just for some reason your name always makes me think of it. It pops in my head because it kind of sounds like similar in how you'd pronounce it, I guess. But yeah, Bruno Fernandes. You always go live when I'm walking the dog. It's perfect. You should take your dog on more walks. Ran a beer. Your performance in front of Phil was disappointing. You didn't give him any of the theory. You thought he did. I make my point because I don't have to change anyone's opinion. Stuart gifting another 5 memberships to the channel. Lamuel, George, Daniel, Terry, and Dawn Marie getting it. Thank you very much for the gifts always, Stuart. Really appreciate that. You're always here. Our man Lamuel got a gift. Oh no, unfortunately. Pronounces Iron Brew. Okay, thank you. Is it Delap stuff true, or is it just Ben Waffler Jacobs? Well, there's been more stories. There's been a lot of stories. Every podcast with Phil should end with it. Is it true we can afford both Cunha and Delap? It is. We can. We totally can. We absolutely can. You didn't explain the points when Amorim took over to now? Sure I did. But which ones are you talking about? I didn't think I folded. I just didn't want to spend the entire podcast on it. I think I argued for a good 20 minutes, but, it's all good. I also called fans stupid, which I don't think went down well with some people, but I didn't do the math for him. Oh, I see. You mean like the multiplication. I remember thinking I got a 7 times 4 is this, and I thought I explained it, but maybe we moved on. Ederson, the only option in the midfield are more targets. Thanks, Daniel. Chances of Hoyland leaving and Xerxes leaving. Xerxes will stay. Is the potential ownership update significant? Yes. It is. I think it's significant anyway. I think everything is significant when it comes to, look, we could talk about that for a second because until I have it solid, we can at least talk about what I meant by that because I don't generally mean to just be like a tease, you know what I mean, on those kinds of things. But, given that anything when it comes to the ownership is a big story, if it happens, there are obviously super complex deals that come into this, but it's essentially good news. Look, as I've shared many times, my understanding has been always that the long-term intention is for Ineos to take over more, to get more of the club, to do more of the club, to have more of the club. It doesn't make sense for them. One of the things you have to bear in mind is as of, I think, like June 25th or June 30th or something, the Glazers can sell the club out from under Jim and force him to sell. Realize that for a second. Now, Sir Jim is not the type of person who is willing to sit there as a minority shareholder and do all of this when he's in a complete position of weakness. You understand what I mean by that? Where at any point in time, he could lose the club. That's not the way that a man like him operates, okay? So there's always been a bit of a timeline here where it's been likely that around the 18-month mark, there would be some sort of developments in an attempt to adjust things and move them forward, right? And what I can say is that from the perspective that I'm hearing, there's discussions over what that means now. Genuine, concrete discussions over what that would mean now. What would be the next step? What would be the next phase? What that means yet, I do not know. That's what I have to find out still. But I do not know what it is, but I do know that those discussions are happening and that there will be look, they could end up with no agreement. There's nothing set in stone on this. I don't think that'll be the case, but it is, these discussions at a very, very high level are occurring over what the next phase looks like. And it's in the direction of obviously less Glazers, not more Glazers, basically. So, yeah. So we'll see. It has nothing to do with Qatar. Sorry to disappoint. But yeah, just to make it that basic. There's a fixed formula to trumping Phil in a podcast. Do you know Nice's 300 million valuation? Well, yes, and I do think that they are somewhat connected as a part of the overall process of getting out of Nice, having more funds, more time, more everything available to move ahead. You said there's a chance some players could be back for the final in your recent video. Could that be Xerxes? Because he said on Twitch to Alphonso Davies that he's trying. Did he actually? I did not know that. But yeah, I think we'll see on Xerxes. But I have a little bit of hope. For good reason. I have a little bit of hope as well. I didn't actually know he said that. I saw somebody mention something about Davies' comments, and I was like, what? I did like flew by my head because I had no idea what they were talking about. It was probably during one of the days I was traveling or something. But I would certainly say he's trying. And it's not outside the realm of possibility at all. So I didn't know that, but thanks. Yeah, thanks for letting me know. I actually had no idea that was said. I understand why he said it. I'll put it that way. I do understand why he said it. We have some hope on it, but yeah, it's going to take hard work and a little bit of luck, no doubt about that. A little bit of luck and hard work. It's just human body. Like, whoa, what can you do? There's only so much you can do. So a hard work and a little bit of luck could make it, could get us there. But I do understand why it's possible, and it is possible. I actually had no idea, to be quite honest. Thanks for letting me know of that. I missed I'm out of it the last few days for sure. I'm out of it. I'm also I'm very dizzy. Sometimes when you come back to Denver, to Colorado, because it's a mile high, you get the low. It takes a little while to adjust to the oxygen levels because it's lower, and you end up like getting dizzy and lightheaded easier, and it's altitude sickness, like a small degree of it. So I have a little bit of that's bothering me. I keep getting dizzy whenever I'm talking for too long. So yeah, I've been a little bit out of it the last couple of days, for sure. So I may have missed some things, but okay. What do we want to talk about today? Let's take a look. Obviously, I did a video this morning. I'm going to talk about some of the same stuff here, but always a little different in a live setting, get people's thoughts back and forth, all of those kinds of things. I'll try to be more nice today. Sunday, I was definitely, in a definitely irritable in a more irritable sense of my mental state. But while you're here, make sure to like the video, make sure to like the live, make sure to you're subscribed and all of that kind of stuff. And then in addition, I want to say that one of the things I do want to add, because obviously you got members and people like that, is I'll definitely be making some kind of behind the scenes, vlog-esque type of videos for this summer and moving forward in terms of for the YouTube members and Patreon as well. So yeah, I will definitely do that too. So we'll get my promotion out the way and all of that. So but yeah, I should be a little less grumpy now in general. But yeah, please do like the video while you're here, and let's get all into it. Obviously, first thing to discuss in general is Ruben Amorim. Amorim. Oh my God, I screwed up his name in the thing. I'm gonna have to fix it. Truly atrocious there. Amorim, Amorin, Amorum, Amaru, Amari. What am I doing out here, man? All right. Let me just fix this really fast, and then we'll get going. Because it's gonna bug the crap out of me having something. No. Having something showing up incorrectly on my screen this whole time. Alright. There it is. I fixed it. There we go. He told Davies it's going to be tough and close, but he's trying every day. Awesome. Okay, good. Thank you. But yeah, Ruben Amorim. I did say this on a podcast yesterday. I've said it a number of times in recent months, but they're quite happy with his performance. They're quite happy with what he's done. They're quite happy with what has happened so far. And he is 100% settled. They didn't want there to be any question about his position from their perspective. He didn't want there to be any question about his position from their perspective to go into summer and to end the season. He's there. He's settled. They're going to give him the players that he needs. They're going to rebuild the squad with him. They're going to give him all of that and make sure that that he has the team that is necessary in order to do it, in order to get there. So that's the reality of where things are at. As I kind of explained this morning, to me, it's hard to get this point across about, what about the different jobs that managers have, and the different reasons that they're hired. And I'm trying to think of a good explanation, like a good comparison to what they want to do. But it's like anytime someone says, he's in and we're in 16th, that means he's doing a bad job. I'm like, okay, I get it. But it's a very weird thing to say, that a manager's job is not to get up the table. Because the instant you say that, people react to me emotionally and not logically to that point. The instant you say a manager's job is not to get up the table, to not climb the table, to not win games, people react to it. What phase is Ruben Amorim in? No, but like it's hard to put that. But let's say we put together, a manager when they come in their first season. Are they being judged based purely on results? No. But it's also like, what is the top-down view of how you build a successful football club? Is it immediate results? Is it all of those things? There are short-term targets and long-term targets. Funny thing is that Amorim's long-term target is the table. Right, exactly, Sagif. See, that's the difference, right? Where United are at right now, the short-term target is to analyze and evaluate the squad so we know who's good, who's bad. The other short-term target is to start laying in a style of play and a way that United want to play moving forward. Those are the targets for the season. Some of that is counter to climbing the table. Like you say, let's say you came into a house that needed renovation. It was an old, decrepit house. Now, you could get an interior decorator to come in and paint, to buy the right furniture, to put some pictures on the wall and fix it all up, right? So that it looks a lot better than a shitty house. And you know what? The house will look better. It will feel better. It'll be a nice place to be in when they do that, right? But it's always going to be rotten underneath. It's always going to be bad underneath. You're just dressing it up. But don't use my housing analogy without... I'm taking it a step further, but you're right. I did see that, and that was a good analogy. Thank you. But in United's case, you can still use it. You can still use the 20-year-old faucets. You can still, use all of these things. But if you ask someone to come in and say, I want to renovate it, tear it all down. They go in, they bring it back to the studs. That house is not fit for living. You're going to be living in hell. You ever been through a house and lived in it while it's been renovated? I have. No doubt about it, I have. Use the swimming tree. I will again. That'll be the squad. But I've lived through a house that's been renovated. If you live in a house while it's being renovated, it is terrible. And you start to regret every single thing that you're doing because it is such a pain in the ass, right? And you start to think, would it have been better to just throw on some decorations, do some basic aesthetic cosmetic fix-ups, or just keep going? But you suffer through it. You finish the renovation. It's terrible to live in for a few months. And by the end of it, you have something new, something better, something... See, it's exactly that thing, Jermaine. I said, if I say a football manager's job is not to win football matches, people react really, really poorly. They're going to immediately react to that without understanding it. But it's a different job. It's like your renovation guy's job is not to ruin your house, but they have to ruin your house in order to fix it. So it's like, there's a point to that. So, the fact of the matter is, it's what you have to do. It's a part of it. Man United is not a football club. Is a football club, not a house. Players are not wood planks. They're human beings. I don't know. A lot of them come across like wood planks, if you ask me. I think that's the problem. Plenty of them are less useful than a wood plank. I'd take a wood plank over a few people in that team. They would serve a little bit more purpose. In general, this is all true, but we have to start well next year. Sure. It's like, if you put it all together, then it has to start working. You can't just, you don't demolish the house, rebuild it, and you still can't use it. It's got to be good. It's got to look good. It's got to start coming together. Everything's got to be pretty. Everything's got to look good. Of course, it's got to work. But yeah, as I said this morning with the squad analogy, you're asking people who are good. You're asking swimmers to climb trees, and they can't do it. And you're finding out that only 4 or 5 of them can actually climb trees. So you got to sell the swimmers and buy the tree climbers. I mean, it really is that simple. Players are good at some things. They're not good at everything. Yeah. Andy Minton often brings up factions in the dressing room and it being complicated, which doesn't sound great. It's not. There certainly are language factions and things like that too. One of the things that I've said that I was thinking about today as well, a comment, a point, is that like you don't get the same leaks about unhappy with the tactics, worried about this, worried about that, or anything that you have before. And one of the reasons for that, I was saying on the red carpet, and I don't think people bought it. I don't think they understood it. But I'm quite certain of this as well when it comes to motivation and man management. Good man management doesn't mean you get the most out of every single player. Sometimes it means you figure out who are the real ones and who are the bullshitters. When a good manager steps into a company or into any job, they're not sitting there saying, I have to make every single employee work. Not everybody is a good employee. Not everybody makes for a good person to work under a manager. In any business, I would suggest when it's not successful, at least half of them are bad. So the job is not, a good man manager, a good motivator, a good person doesn't necessarily make every single person work. That's not the measure of success. It means, can they figure out who the right ones are and motivate them? And one of the things that Ruben Amorim, that I think is a huge, huge plus for Ruben Amorim, is look at who's bought in. Look at who has bought in. Bruno, Ahmad, Lenny Yoro, Casemiro. These are winners. These are if your best players are buying in, your most talented players are buying in from very different circumstances, mind you. Casemiro, who's won everything. Bruno, Ahmad, Lenny, and Lenny and Ahmad, who are young. Martinez, when he was fit, he really started to get it. Maguire, the guys with experience and the best young players are getting it. They're buying in 100%. They're behind Amorim to the letter. They're so in, even though we're in 16th. And what that tells you is you're getting it with the right people. And you're learning who aren't the right people, right? If you look at the stories that came out at the end of last year, look at the interview with Rafael Varane. Ten Hag lost all the good players. All of them. Every single one of them, the successful players, hated him. He fell out with Cristiano Ronaldo. He fell out with Varane. He fell out with Casemiro. He fell out with every single player who had actually ever won anything. That tells you have a shit manager. Because the people who are successful don't like him. They don't work with him. They can't get behind him. That's the difference. And we were doing better than we're doing this season. And that is really, really telling. And I'll just add to that, he fell out with most of the top talented young players. Ahmad nearly left because of him. Can you imagine someone like Lenny Yoro? Would he have actually gotten a shot? Would he have gotten the consistency? Would he have gotten the forgiveness, the ability to play through the early mistakes and things that he made? Or would he have been tossed aside as well? Yeah. And so it's like, to me, that is really, really, really telling. Really, really telling. What has happened and who are the people who are really showing something under Amorim, to me, are the right ones. The ones that tell you're on the right track. You've got the right people. Needless agenda against Eric. No, it's not needless. It's not needless. It's factual. It is absolutely factual. That's the truth of it. An agenda implies that there's something wrong. There's nothing wrong with it. It's facts. It's the truth. It is his team that is created here, and this is all, everything we're seeing comes from the result of not just Ten Hag but other people involved with him. But he built this team, so it's the facts. No agendas at all. It is the reality of it. So I see a lot of positives. Who's been your favorite post-Ferguson manager? Jose, 100%. I loved Jose Mourinho. I know things went bad towards the end with him, but I absolutely love Jose. I think that our biggest mistake was when the squad turned on Jose, the club backed the squad over him. And that was the end. And that resulted in years of problems for us. The thing is, it's like, even if you have doubts over Jose Mourinho and what he was doing, you hired him. And if you're going to hire him, he's going to fall out with players because he has a certain way of demanding things, and you're going to have to back him in that. You know who Jose Mourinho is. So if you hire him and then you don't back him, crazy that. Yeah, I love to Jose. Yeah, and instead we backed. Oh my God, yeah. I don't even want to talk about it. Depressing. Very, very depressing. Ten Hag was the worst by far. Ollie built a decent squad. I still don't think he was qualified for the job, but he did a decent job, at least, with what he was doing, with the tools at hand. Van Gaal, I think, was a very good manager, but I think his style was untenable. So boring. So boring. I couldn't. It was way more. It was just not for me, but I think he was a good manager. And he was the other one who got the closest to sticking to a style and implementing it. But it was a long road. Long road, and I'm not sure the style was one that people would have accepted. Myself included. It was really, really boring. So yeah. Yeah. You reckon United would have won the league if they got Marine? Yeah, earlier. Yeah, I would agree. I would definitely agree. I think we would have if we got it earlier. So anyway, they're confident in Amorim. They're happy with it. And as I shared this morning as well, kind of showed this to me was like, this was utterly insane. Hang on, let's pull it up. That that we have 2 points in 7 games. And you look at the teams around us who've performed about the same and their point totals, it is absolutely embarrassing. It is embarrassing. It's unbelievable. The players who look at the goals scored in this period in time. 4 goals for Southampton and 5 for us. And we have more chances created than half the league in that time. I mean, it is an absolute embarrassment. It is an absolute embarrassment. And look, I'm not going to go in on individuals right now, but I've been telling you for weeks that the analysis from the top of the problems with the squad are basically understood that we have the worst attacking unit in the league, bar Southampton. And it is a fact. We do. That is the agreed upon analysis from up top and from Ruben Amorim. And so when people say, oh my God, we're we don't have a 16th place team. Yes, you do. Because your attack is the most important part of your team. And we have the second worst attack in the Premier League. Our front 3 is the second worst in the Premier League. And our only 2 real forwards in that is the second worst in the Premier League. It is that bad. It is the worst attack we have ever had. Realize that for a second. For the people saying, points per game is the worst in history. Thank you. Please tell me when we've had a worse attack than Garnacho and Højlund. Please. Give me one example of a worse attack. Even comes close to Garnacho and Højlund in the front 3. I will wait for an example, and you will not find one because it doesn't even come close. And we saw that on Thursday. More one-on-ones missed. through on goal on multiple occasions, missing. It is the worst attack in the Premier League. Last season, absolutely not. We still had Rashford last season. We still had Rashford last season. Weghorst, do you remember the rest of them? The players that we had. Weghorst was significantly better than Rasmus Højlund. Realize that for a second. Yeah, you have to go way, way back, right? You have to go way, way back. You can go way, 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 way back to find it. That's the thing, right? All right. What did Rashford do last season? All right. Ready? That's how embarrassing this is. All right. But you also have to add in Scott McTominay, by the way, because he essentially was an attacker. Look, what did Rashford do last season? He scored 7 goals. More than Garnacho has this season, more than Rasmus has this season. Okay. And then McTominay chipped in with 7 more goals. So that's 14 goals right there that we've lost. Okay. Højlund is the modern day Forlan. Oh my God. Isn't that incredibly insulting to Forlan? Oberton. You can name individual players. I'm talking about as a unit. As a unit. We've never had an attack this bad. Last year's unbelievably poor performance from Rashford is still better than what we've got out of Garnacho and Højlund this year. You understand that? The player that was hounded out by fans for last season is better still than anything we've got this season. It's insanity. It's insanity. And this was bad. This was bad. This was really bad. And we've gotten worse. And we've gotten worse. And then you look at this season, and this is the insanity of it too, right? Look, Ahmad, 7 goals. He's been injured for 3 months. Rashford still, he's got some of those at Villa, right? He had 4 for us. He still has as many as our striker. And we don't have Scott McTominay here. It is the worst attacking line in football, bar Southampton. And that is a statistical fact. When I did that video a few weeks ago, I told you the goals from our front 3 is the second lowest in the entire Premier League. Whereas the goals from the rest of the squad is like 5th. You understand that? That's the reality of it. So it is the worst. It is the 19th placed attack. So when you ask, why are we in 19th? That's why. We do have a team that is that bad. We do have a team that is that bad. 4 goals in 30 games. And obviously, as everybody has seen, the whole chances, doesn't get enough chances thing is total bullshit. Both Garnacho and Højlund get tons of chances. Tons of chances. You know? Tons and tons of chances. And it is what it is, you know? McTominay papered over the cracks last season. You know? That's the reality of it. You know, his late goals won us a bunch of games. But that's the truth. We are missing, you know, we just don't have those kinds of goals. We just don't have those, you know, we don't have anything good enough there. Peter Davenport, yeah, I'm saying you have to go way, 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 way back. Like, it is the worst attack we've had in the Premier League era by a large margin. Right? I mean, look, let's go back to 14-15. This is the earliest that's on here, right? Who were our forwards that year? We only had, you know, Rooney, Van Persie, Juan Mata, Danny Welbeck still, guys like Fellaini chipping in. Look at all these players chipping in with goals. Let's go to like 2016-17, right? Who was our guys there that year? Because I feel like was that a good year or a bad year? We had Zlatan. Oh yeah, okay. We had Zlatan. All right. 15-16. Who did we have? Martial. Rooney, Mata, Rashford, Lingard. I'd take all of them over our current options. They weren't amazing. Obviously, this was a pretty down year. We only scored 49 goals that season, but look at our defense was good. Still significantly better than what we have this season. There's never been a season this bad. We've never had an attack this bad. Ever. Not once. It's not even close, honestly. I mean, look at this season. Martial, Rashford, Greenwood. It's nutty, right? But yeah, that's the reality of it. Don't know what to say. And let's not pretend, by the way, that this was any better before we changed managers. Because we were scoring a few more goals. A shockingly gigantic few more goals. Let's see, how many goals did we have? Oh, wait. Hold on a second. Wait. When Ten Hag was sacked, we were what? We had 8 goals in 9 games. So this is because of the back 7, as people like to say it. We had 8 goals in 9 games. You understand that? Before changing managers, we had 8 goals in 9 games. And now we've got 42 goals in 36 games. So Amorim's team has actually scored a lot more goals than Ten Hag's, despite that. Right, so you want to blame it on the back 7 when it was actually worse before the back 7. Before the back 5, as you like to call it. You know, there's nothing in it. I mean, look, we haven't scored a lot, but we've scored 34 and 27 compared to 8 and 9. So it's gotten better under Ruben Amorim. So it's not the back 7. Has nothing to do with it. Because it's gotten better. It wasn't better before, before Ten Hag was sacked. It wasn't better. Just waffle around in different discussions. Get rid of Ruud's games. Get rid of Ruud's games. All right. And guess what? It's still 30 and 25. So it's still better than 8 and 9. It's so stupid. It's still better than what it was before. Our goal scoring record didn't get worse from Ten Hag to Amorim this season. It got slightly better. That tells you that it's a personnel issue with the worst attack in the league. It's not going to get better. There's nothing we can do about it. We have the worst attack in the Premier League. And then, can you imagine if we had just decided not to play Ahmad as well and didn't have his 7 goals in contribution? How bad it would be, and that's where we were headed. So, it is what it is. So we'll be good. We'll be all right. But obviously, it's being judged on that basis. The team is this bad. The team is this bad right now. And we have to accept that. But at least we know it. Maybe it's about having enough options rather than the options we have right now. Well, that's the other factor, Red, is that if you had other players and you could have Garnacho and Højlund come off of the bench, would they be better? Yes. They'd be better per minute for sure. We don't even have the option to adjust the team when people aren't performing. We don't even have the choice. We don't have any of that. Right now. That's the truth of it. If any club loaned out their top 3 earners in attacking positions, they'd struggle. Agreed, Crypto. Yeah, absolutely agreed. We lost our best forwards for the bulk of Amorim's tenure for different reasons. Some to be, for different reasons, whether it's injury or otherwise, it's still the truth. So it is in reality, whatever the reasons are, it is in reality a 16th place team. That's where we are. That's the truth. And some of it was necessary, some of it was not. And that's the price we pay. That's where we're at. Exactly. That's the reality of it. Is Jim going to give another interview before the end of the season? I doubt before the end, but probably in summer. I saw that RSV. Thanks. That is interesting. I mean, ChatGPT is ChatGPT, but I would tend to agree in that case. We performed like a 16. We did. We got bailed out by one player bringing random goals. And Onana was really, really, really good, by the way, last season. When you look at the numbers on it, Onana saved us a lot. I mean, he saved us. He was actually really good last season. Let me see if it shows it here. Hold on a second. So I don't know if I can find it or not, but yeah, he saved a lot of goals last season. From what I remember, he was near the top on saving goals for a while. Yeah, second best goalkeeper in the league last season. Exactly. So we had good goalkeeper, and we got bailed out on the other end, and that's the swing. But the performances were just as bad as they are this season, and probably worse. Do you think we would have been closer to relegation if we still had Ten Hag as manager? No. I think we'd be about the same, maybe a little bit better in the league, but we would certainly not be winning in Europe. I think we'd be a little bit better in the league, and we'd be out of Europe right now. That's what I think. I don't think we'd be worse in the league. I think we'd be a little bit better, because Ten Hag was the guy who adapted to keep trying to play what would suit the squad, and we would be in the same boat of being worse as a team and going nowhere and having nothing to look forward to in the future. But we would get a few league positions, and then I'm sure we'd feel really great about being in 13th, to pay for that. Like I said, it's a different job. It's a different job. Do I still have faith in Ineos? Yeah, but this summer is the big one. This is the one where they've got to really show it. They've been here. They've had the full preparation. They had a year to get ready. They got their manager. They've had the season to assess the squad. Now they have to get it right. And starting with that is obviously Mathis Cunha, Cunha, who United are the front runners for. Now, obviously, there was a story that came out this morning saying we might pay like slightly different on the fee, but that we're still leading the pack on Arsenal and all of that for Cunha, but that will get it done. My understanding with Cunha continues to be that he's prioritizing us, and I believe as soon as the Europa League final is done, we'll have it wrapped up. And I've not a single worry about it in the slightest at the moment. But all signs from our side are that we're still confident we'll get him. So we leave it at that. It's actually, I don't have anything in it, but I've not expected us to hear anything until after the Europa League final. On Cunha and Delap, obviously there's been a few stories today from Sky and elsewhere saying that we're leading for Cunha and Delap. Yeah, Naveen, the Dragon writes, well, that was the point I was mentioning in the beginning of the video, that Sir Jim is not the type of person who wants to sit in that position. So, hence, there will be some other things that will happen. Cunha and Delap, there's a lot of talk that we're leading the pack for him, all of that. I reacted very poorly to the initial report because it said this thing about, again, about Champions League, and like that, he might be waiting, not join if we don't have Champions League, what have you. I'm still 100% against it on that basis, if that were to be the case. Now, the video from Sky didn't say that at all. Quite the opposite, in fact. So I'm not against him. I think for 30 million, he's a good player. It wasn't the aggregators. It was in the article. But the video was very different to the piece, to the written piece on the website. The video was very different in how it stated that versus the written piece. So the video is much more promising, much more positive in that respect. My views on Cunha and Delap are the same. For 30 million, if he adds, let's look, if he adds 8 goals, guys. Okay, if he adds 8 goals, if he just gets 12, right? If he just gets 12 versus Højlund's 4, he's worth the 30 million. Okay? Does that solve our problems? No, it's not good enough to solve our problems. But I'll take 8 goals for 30 million. It's probably 8 more points. I'll take the 8 goals for 30 million. Not on its own. We need Cunha as well, because with Cunha you add another 10 goals, another 12 goals, another maybe 15 goals. So now between the two of them in the aggregate, you're probably getting 20 to 25 more goals. And I think that puts us up into the top 6, quite honestly, on their own. I mean that our attack is that bad. I think that puts us up where we need to be. So he might, because I do think we'd give better service. But for 30 million, even if he only matched his total this season, I think it's worth the money. I still personally believe we will need to buy another striker later to be better than that. But it's still worth the money to do it. It is still worth the money to get those 12 goals versus 4. And he's better at other things than Højlund too. So in that respect, I'm okay with it, right? I'm happy with it. I'm happy with it there. And I think it will give us more. Cunha and Delap continue to be the 2 we wanted to get done regardless of money. So regardless of sales and regardless of the winning or losing the CL final. So it looks all on track for that, and I think that's a huge improvement. I think that alone puts us into the top half next season. That's my estimate of this. I just because it's like, again, we have it's not like we don't have the chances to score week in and week out. And it sounds crazy, but like putting the ball in the net is football. It is that simple sometimes. If you get 20 more goals, where would we be? The Europa League final to get into CL. I keep getting confused there, but yeah. The red. So if you signed up for Patreon, you just have to sync your Discord. There's a way to sync it on Patreon to sync your Discord account with the Patreon, and then it'll automatically put you in when you do that. But quite literally, I mean, 20 goals. In a season, how much difference does that make? You know, if we look at the data on it, 42, 63. So it would put you among this group that's in the top 8. Now, the only outlier to that is Tottenham. But I think that our problems are not the same as Tottenham's. Tottenham are the only outlier in the whole league to the goals equals points thing. And we still have more points with them. So clearly adding goals would add points to us. But that's why I look at it. I'm like, well, look, if you just added 8 from to get Delap, it probably puts you up here. And if you add Cunha on top of that, it probably puts you up here. So just them alone, I'm taking, you know, I'm saying puts us in the top half. Honestly, that level of quality increase puts us in the top half. That I think is important. Then obviously you need to do more on top of that, because then, you know, didn't Rasmus score 10 last season in the Premier League, 16 in comps? He did. And look, some players who stay, their record might get better if they're not the starter. Like, I think Garnacho, if he was a sub every game, would score more goals than he would as a starter. In fact, I'm positive he would. If Garnacho was coming off the bench every game, I think he would score more goals than he does as a starter in half the minutes. It's just different game state, different situation, and he's kind of shown that his goals per minute is much better as a sub than it is as a starter. You know, and so I think in the aggregate, you can do a lot better there. With everybody, but I don't think they'll all stay, mind you. But yeah, I mean, with your initial money, we will get both Cunha and Delap done. It seems like, you know, I would lean towards like 80% for Cunha, 60-65% for Delap right now. So it seems like we're very likely to get both of them in for money. Then it comes down to sales in the final. There's a lot of players for sale. The problem is Garnacho would ask to leave if he becomes a bench player. That is the problem. That is the serious problem. Look, I complain about this a lot, and it's just a fact. When you have, like, Laurie on Talk of the Devils said it. He said it. If Garnacho to stay this summer would require, think about this, what is he said here, would require a new contract to reflect his status. I'm almost baffled at the thought of that. You know, like, tell me what status that is that requires a new contract. Okay, he's on 50 grand a week, and then take a step back for a second and look at what you're getting at other clubs. All right, I want to show you Liverpool's, for example. All right, now they've just recently given out some bumpers, but let's look at the people in the 50K range. Luis Diaz. Is Luis Diaz better than Alejandro Garnacho? Has he given them more? Yes. He's given them title-winning goals. Okay. Has Endo given as much? I don't know. Harvey Elliott. This is the range that he deserves to be in. Ibrahim Konate is on 70K, man. He's on 70,000. And he's a title-winning center back. Like, these people are delusional as to the wages that are there for other teams. Let's go to, like, Aston Villa, okay, and look at the wages that these players are getting. Oh, I mean, it's like, I don't know, man. You've got to prove it to get more money. Because I'm taking all of these players over them. And if, to be fair to Villa, they actually hand out pretty decent wages. I mean, we could go to Crystal Palace or something like that. Let's look at Palace, all right? Let's look at the wages these guys are on. You know, you're not better than these guys. Mateta's on 50K. Is Garnacho better than him? No. Guehi's on 50K. Is Garnacho better than him? No. Maybe Kleiny is. I don't know. Chris Richards. Well, you're not better than these guys. Was that an ad to say use an ad blocker? Yeah, those ones are like, hey, will you disable your ad blocker? Here's a pop-up. I hate that. Anyway, my point being is like have some self-awareness here, right? You don't deserve more than that. But this is where the wage structure can go out of control. You know what I mean? The wage structure can get crazy. You can sit there and say, well, I'm a starter for Manchester United. That's fine. But that's not really your status. Because right now, you're a starter for a 16th place team. So that is the negotiation standpoint that you're coming from. What is the wages for a starter for 16th? Because you don't absolve yourself of being in 16th. You're one of the main players who is a part of us being in 16th. You don't separate yourself from that for a contract negotiation. You're 16th. You are a 16th place player right now. So you get 16th place wages. 50K is enough. And next season you'll be a bench player if you stay. That's the part of it I'm just like, come on, man. Like, it doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for me. It's there's players who are playing more who are offering more, who are not the reason for this, and who have accomplished more, do they deserve more? Yes, right. But it's just it's nuts. The miss against Atletico was the turning point for Garnacho. I mean, look, you do all of that. All of this is happening. You're discussing all of this, and then you go into Thursday's game against Bilbao, and you're missing one-on-ones again. There's not even a value for a player who can't get that. There's not even a value for a player who can't get that. It's like you don't deserve anything today because you haven't done anything yet. You haven't accomplished anything yet, and you haven't shown anything yet, and your career is already on the decline at 20 years old. Just have some self-awareness. That's what bothers me more than anything else. It's not time for that. It's just not. It's not the time for that. It's the wrong time. If you're here next season and you perform, then go for it. They're taking Euro's contract as starting point. Lenny Yoro was already a well-performing starter for a good team that is viewed as a top prospect in all of Europe, That's the truth of it. He's probably slightly overpaid. But still. I get it on the thing on 21 goals and assists this year, but to me, that's like garbage stats. It just is garbage stats, because when you look at the Premier League performance, it's been horrific game after game after game after game after game. And when you look at the fact that, like, if you were to make a comparison, and we can do it, like, there has to be context with this. This is a club problem, right? This is a club problem, mind you. But the context with this is that he's getting more chances than anyone. I mean, literally, the guy, like, can I see a chart of this? There was a way to see a chart of this, but now, for some reason, it's not showing. Hang on a second. Like, you used to be able to click this, and then it would show you the chart. He's in the night. Here we go. He's in the... No, I want shots total, you bastard. Okay, look. Look at his shots total, okay? He gets more chances than anyone for those stats. And is there potentially a talent to that? Sure. There's also the simple reality that he is the outlet for the team. He's that guy. He's the only option we have for that. If you were to get somebody else in there and put him in, they will score more goals. When you compare it by the chances, I mean, look at the touches in the attacking penalty area, man. He has nearly as many as Salah. Okay? Like, he has nearly as many as Salah in touches in the attacking area. He's getting... Look at the number of passes being received. Point being, he is getting more opportunities. And this is what's always bothered me about football stats. I've said this many times before, is the lack of efficiency stats. Why are there no efficiency stats? Why is there no usage rates? Why is there nothing like that? Because production per usage matters. Production per usage means something. If you use, it's so easy in something like basketball, right? If you're taking half the shots of the whole team and getting 20 points per game, that's not good. That's really bad, actually. It's really, really bad. You need, it's how much of the team are you taking a part of, how much are you using, how much is happening. So when somebody is getting the majority of the chances and getting that much production, it's poor. You can't use your stats and put. You absolutely can. It's more complicated, no doubt about it. It's more doubt. There's no doubt about it. Like, I'll give you an example, right? Rasmus Højlund here, right? It is challenging. It is challenging to look at this, but it is just this type of stats that do not exist in football. They just don't. You know, um, is how you manage the efficiency. But if a guy is getting, in Cunha, let's see, we made that comparison to Garnacho. Let's look at him like positionally. Let's compare another player here, and let's look at Cunha. Okay, look at look at these numbers right here. 7.53 touches in the attacking penalty area and 11.83 progressive passes received. Now go to Cunha. 4.32 and 5.38. Like, do you understand? He's getting half the chances. Half the chances. And he's got, this is Premier League only, right? 6 goals, 2 assists. 15 goals, 6 assists, okay? So it's 21 goal contributions, right? 21 goal contributions versus 8 for half the chances. Like, you do understand the difference there, okay? Like, the amount of production that's there. Yes, Garnacho, for his age, has a good total output, but at what cost? Who else is getting those number of chances? Nobody. Absolutely nobody. That means Cunha is 4 times, like, you have to understand this. Cunha is 4 times more efficient. Okay? 4 times more efficient. Right? That's crazy. That is crazy. Like, we could compare similar young players if you guys wanted to look at the efficiency aspects of this. But it is 4 times more efficient from another player. And that's 3, and look, you know where it gets really, look at the minutes, all right? Look at the minutes for a second and bring up the age thing to me again. 569, 2565, and 2178, okay? Garnacho and Cunha have almost the same number of minutes over the last 3 seasons in the they have almost the same number of Premier League minutes. Do you understand that for a minute? Like, just realize that. They have almost the same number of minutes overall in the Premier League in their careers. I don't know what to tell you. Like, and it's not like Cunha had this like insanely like busy long career elsewhere. You know? Can we compare Rashford? Yeah. Do you want me to compare like this season? Sure. Here. So 4.89, 8.21. So he's still seeing less. And he's got 9. So he's only played, let's look at between United and Villa. He's got 1,400 minutes and 9 goals and assists compared to 2,200 minutes and 8 goals and assists. So more touches, more passes received by nearly 50%, not double, but 50%, and still underproducing, producing a lot less, right? So I don't know, man. 9. It's a similar thing. It's a similar thing here because this is last 12 months. Rashford's bad season is better than Garnacho's current season. You know, that's the truth of it. I don't know. That's the truth of it. Okay. It is what it is. We can keep talking about age until the cows come home, but I'll just show you what an actual talent looks like. Who's also young, who's also inexperienced, and who also has even fewer minutes. And that's Amad Diallo. 13 goals and assists, 1,700 minutes, and let's look. So he's getting a good number of touches, but significantly fewer than Garnacho still, and he's doubling his production. He's young. He's less experienced. Like, let's be real for a minute here. You know, it's like, come on, man. There's a point when you just have to say, it's not good enough. It's just not good enough. And you know what? That's okay. If you're not demanding a better contract in order to leave, and if you don't think the sun shines out of your ass. That's all that matters in that. You know? But but we're talking about the level that we need to reach the top. Garnacho is a good footballer. Garnacho is a good footballer. Significantly better than Rasmus Højlund, for example, in my opinion. Garnacho is a good footballer. If he didn't want a new contract and he didn't have a problem being a sub, I'd be extremely happy to keep him as a young player in the team. Because I think he is talented. And I think there's something in there. I don't think he's going to get it because I don't think he has the right attitude for it. There's a self-awareness that has to occur in order to grow as a player. And, you know, whether it happens or not remains to be seen. It might. It totally might. But we're not seeing it. We're seeing regression right now. And you can't be making demands when you're seeing regression. Remember Vini when you're totally right about Vini. You know, I actually did a comparison a while ago though, and I'll tell you the thing that's kind of like I know how people remember Vini, obviously, right? When he first came to Madrid, because you can look here like this is poor, right? But this is what people are calling trash. He's still at a better record, and I bet if you looked at his touches and things, you know, then it would be quite a bit different. Now he's 24, right? He's getting around similar numbers to Garnacho, and I mean the output isn't even close. Obviously he's in Madrid, but so I don't like making that comparison. But you know, it's like that. It's just it is what it is. Yeah, you can't. I don't know how to compare La Liga. That's why I tried to use Ahmad. I tried to use Cunha. I could use some. I could think of another example, but you know the thing is, people will say, "Well, you're comparing a young player to a guy we're buying for 60 million." Yeah, but you're saying we have to sell Garnacho for 60 million, so you're implying he's as good a player. You know, when you're doing that, if Scott went for 35, Garnacho goes for 70, but Scott's better than Garnacho. Scott is a better footballer than Garnacho. If Vini started, look, that all can be true, but what about attitude? What potential? Potential is theoretical. Potential is just theoretical. It's just theoretical. Comparing to Martinelli, yeah, Martinelli is extremely. Martinelli is, I think, a very similar player to Garnacho, to be fair. And look, you can kind of see that by the numbers. Martinelli has double his goal contributions in the league for the same numbers. He's 23, and he's shit. Sorry, he is. So Martinelli is twice as good as Garnacho. And would you take Martinelli? I wouldn't. I wouldn't sign him. I certainly wouldn't pay 60 million for him. I would take Martinelli as a sub. You know, but this is probably the closest comparison. You know, so no, I don't think I'm being harsh on the situation at all. Like I said, the reality is if he was happy to be a sub, happy to come on as a backup, had a good attitude about it, he would be more likely to reach his potential, okay? But he has to accept where he is as a player in order for that to happen. And that's the part that's frustrating, because I've said a million times to add balance to this, that I would definitely keep Garnacho as a substitute. The problem is his view of it is poor. He doesn't think he's there, and he believes his status to be above that. That's the truth. You can like it, dislike it, whatever. It is the truth. So, you know, it's not taking responsibility off of him. You know, now if he goes and starts the Europa League final for us and goes and scores a big goal and helps us win it, that's awesome. I think that's great. That would be a part of proving your worth, but he's still not going to be a starter next season. We still have to buy better. We are buying better. What about Kobe Mainu requesting 180K while having a poor season? I don't think that he is requesting 180K, and I've said before I wouldn't give it to him. Did you send one RSV? Oh, question: is Cunha, Wilcox, or Vavell or Amorim signing? It's a combination. They're all together now on all of this. There's no individual signings anymore. They've all coordinated very, very, very strongly on the whole setup. No, Garnacho wouldn't play in a good team. That's the difference. He would produce less. Nobody's giving him he's not getting nearly as many touches and chances as he is at United in a good team. That's just the reality of it. I'm not really being harsh on him though. It's just like what is it that I'm saying that's wrong? On him in general. Because to me, like I've always said, it comes down to him. For him to reach his potential, he has to change his views on things. He can't keep thinking he's something he isn't. Sure, let's look at Morgan Rogers. Here's my point as well. Like, you take Morgan Rogers, 22 years old, second season in the Premier League, second half of season. He's been in the Premier League 18 months, 17 goal involvements. So let's stop pretending that 8 is like special. Let's stop pretending. Like, setting the cutoff as 20 is a bit bullshit. Because a player between 20 and 22 may be no different. There's very little difference in terms of experience. They're not that different. It's like, oh, well, if you change it to 21, now is the stat still valid? Okay, so you're saying that in the next 6 months, someone's going to be so much better? Yeah, you don't know that, man. Like, those are just very, very, they're very, what if you did it by minutes? What if you just did it if you did the stats by minutes and said, players who've played 7,000 first team minutes, who's leading? I guarantee you he's not top of that list. You know what I mean? So I don't know. But you can also just watch, like, where's the improvement? Where's the getting better? And I think he would be better as a sub, and I think he would develop better as a sub. That's all I'm saying. I think it's really, really simple. He would develop better as a sub if he was willing to do that. Then he could develop, then he could work on his game, then he could improve, then he could see better. People just don't admit. Well, that's part of it, Mickles. I agree. I think, people get caught up when they hype a player and then they have a really hard time going back against it. Because don't forget, I think the majority of United fans were insistent that Rashford was ruining Garnacho's career, that Rashford was taking up his spots, that Rashford was taking his minutes, and was crap, and that if we just got rid of Rashford so that Garnacho could start, then he'd be doing so much better. And we did, and he hasn't. And a lot of people held that belief. A lot of people held that belief that Rashford was blocking the way for Garnacho, and we were wasting our time playing Rashford over him, and that we were, doing some disservice, by continuing to use Rashford in place of him just because of wages. That was a strong narrative 6-7 months ago, a very strong narrative among the United fan base. A lot of people believed that. A lot of people believed that. And when that hasn't happened, a lot of people have a hard time reconciling that. That hasn't happened. Yeah, Garnacho's 21 on the 1st of July, right? So he's, yeah. So 1 year different. So next season, if you compare him to other 21-year-olds, so then next season he's going to have to do like more than double his output to catch up to them. That's what it is. Just a child, stop calling him a kid. Look, the fact of the matter is it's always been about him. If we sell him, there's much more we could do to help the team and make us so much better in general. And there's that too. There's the factor of of value versus what we can do to build the team. And look, if we get in Champions League and we have that extra money, and if we can sell other players and all of that, I would keep him as a sub. And then I would say, as long as we're able to still, go get another attacker and go get a midfielder and go get a goalkeeper, then I would keep him if he would be willing to keep him, if he would be willing to stay, if he would be willing to be a sub happily with a positive attitude about it all, then I would be totally fine with that. That is a very, very balanced view of the whole thing. But the cost benefit analysis is leaning one way when you factor in his view. His view. I mean, the funny thing is, when people talk like between 20 and 23, people mature a lot. They don't. I'm 33 years old. Okay, I can tell you that between 20 and probably 27, I was the same dumb kid. And then eventually I matured a little, and now I'm a slightly less dumb kid who's 33 years old. Okay? Age is semi-meaningless. Person has to change. And then you have 16-year-olds who come in and play, and they're 17 and they're 18, and they're very mature from a young age. Age is very, very meaningless in that respect. Okay? It is what it is. It's not an age factor. People mature when they mature, and they grow up and become adults when they become adults, and has nothing to do with age. But I was the same at 20 as I was at 23, as I was at 25, and eventually I grew up. So, you never know. You have a hairline of an 18-year-old. I have good hair. I've got good hair. It is a high forehead, but yeah. In terms of the final, last point I want to make on this, and then I'll end the live because I've been doing this. You don't look at day over 32. Thank you. In the final, one of the really interesting things I was looking at yesterday is rotation. And from what I can tell, because a lot of people were getting really, really upset about Amorim playing Lenny Yoro in the game, considering he picked up an injury. But I wanted to look at it and say, okay, is that a good point? Like, should you rest everybody ahead of the finals? Should you rest everybody ahead of a big game? And the data is really, really interesting on this, because what it essentially says is, like, again, like, only 3 or 4 out of 14 teams who rested the majority of their players win the final. It's a really low percentage. There's a really, really heavy bias that resting gives you a worse chance of winning. And teams that have started 6 or more starters in the games leading up win like 70% of the games. So 70% of the games in the finals. So it seems like the right thing to do is to play a strong team. So they got to have at least, I think you go with 6-7 starters. I hear you, Naveen. It's not like there aren't outliers, but it's a lower percentage. On the percentages, it's a lot lower. I think that I think we have to start 6 players. And then I think we bring on like six of our people who are going to start the finals. And then I think that we have to take 5 and sub them on, the other 5 guys. It sounds like Angel. And that's the exact reason why we should do the opposite, because Postecoglou has been a disaster. No, but for real, I just think that, we need to, I think the data shows it's better to play players into a rhythm. I mean, I look at it and I think Casemiro, if he doesn't play Friday, you can be right or wrong based on the result. Yeah, but there's still analytics. There's still numbers, and the numbers lean heavily towards not resting. The analytics lead heavy towards starting a good chunk of your starters. Like, there's still data. You know what I mean? It's like there's still randomness. It's like it's like playing the odds. You still want to play the best odds. It doesn't mean you're going to win 100%. It's risk for reward. I think the fact is, it's better to play your players if you don't get an injury. So that's the gamble you run up against, but it does give you a better chance to win the game. Lil Yo-Yo, have you heard anything about Euro? Nothing solid, but it's so far the early indications are that it's not a super serious thing. Whether he'd be ready for the final, I have absolutely zero idea. I don't know on league form, but what I do know is that again, 6+ starters looks like the right decision for the game before. So I hope we play. I think we'll play a pretty strong team, to be honest, and we're going to be up against a Chelsea team that's going for it. I think we're going to be up against a team that's going for it in Chelsea, and I think it's better to set up and try to get a good performance ahead of it. An example could be last season. Last season we had an awful season, but then prior to the FA Cup final, we did run out strong teams in the games beforehand, and won a couple games, and then we went into the final and we won. So, even last year, I think that was one of the things they did get right. Chelsea have a final too. Yeah, that's true. But they're chasing, the Champions League, right? In the league, it's a really strong game. So I look at it and I think that we probably need to go in strong. I think we probably will go in strong, at least decently strong, and play against a tough Chelsea side and try to put in a good performance and get some momentum. Because if we can get a result versus Chelsea, I think it spurs us on a lot in terms of what we are doing and where we want to be. In Chelsea, we can beat. So I think it would be a positive. But the data kind of says that. Now, I think you limit the minutes. I think you put on, like I say, a good chunk of players, but you take them off at 45. And you swap the other starters on. Like, Maguire, you have to play Casemiro. He hasn't played in 2 weeks. You got to play him. He can't be cold 2 weeks, no minutes, and then go into a final. No way. Casemiro's got to get going. He's got to get ahead of steam. I'm not really worried about Casemiro getting injured either. He's pretty much an Iron Man in that respect. But it's more fitness. And we have 5 days in between, right? So I think you play Maguire, you play Ahmad, you play Casemiro, you play Shaw, these guys, and then you take them off at 45 and sub on other guys. And that way you get 45 minutes for 11 starters. And I think that that's the way to do it. And then there's probably guys who can play 90. But they may not start. We will see. They may not start. So, all right. But that's just my opinion, and that's just the data. I'm gonna end it there. I will see you all later. I'll be back tomorrow for more stuff. Thanks for hanging out today. Thanks for discussion. Thanks for watching. Thanks for taking part. It's hard. It's hard. The lead up to this game, all I can think about. That's all I can think about. It's hard to even think on Friday, but we have to get it right as well. And if we win, it'll bring some good momentum, I feel like. And look how negative people are after West Ham, even though it was a semi-meaningless game. Like, we kind of need a little positivity, I feel like. I just feel like we need, as a unit, as a club, as a fan base, a bit of positivity ahead of the game. So hopefully we can do something. See you later, everybody. Have a good one. Bye, Renabeer, Marcus, Wahib, everybody. See you later.